I'm just going to do that real quick now. Awesome. So thank you so much for being here on. Definitely love. I'd love to hear about kind of the inspiration behind the Protect Your Heart movement and how that's progressed over the years, and to where we are now.
All right. So I'm gonna express this entire thing from a different perspective. Probably have never expressed it from this perspective before. And I find this important because I'm talking to a whole bunch of creators. So I'm going to be speaking from a creator's perspective of fully understanding the psyche behind why things are happening. Because there's a spiritual thing, a spiritual essence, which is the main essence that's happening. And then there's this creative aspect of creating your career the way you as an individual are from within. So this is me. So therefore my career is just going to be another version of me, a career version. So it's like you could actually always never lose that essence or never lose that drive or anything, because you are, your business and your career is based on who you are. And if you love and if you appreciate who you are, you would never let go of your career, no matter what happened, whether you got money, people care about you. Like, it doesn't really matter, because you still gotta breathe, you still gotta live, you still gotta create. So protect your heart, right? Came from two different versions of my career, my life, pretty much. My spiritual journey had led me to wanting to find a vehicle to express this whole aspect of non-physical essence, and art was it. So I picked art. Now, picking art and understanding that we are creators, it had to be a separation. So this is talking to the artist part of you guys, right? So like, the art world has an art world criteria that, we don't have to, but we tend to want to tap into. But it's also an essence of knowing that as an artist, you are really here to create, right? So it's like, okay, you're here to create something that people have never experienced before. Probably you have never experienced before. So keeping yourself open to that factor of being that vessel that is going to be receiving all sorts of creative juices, and I'm going to express this no matter how it looked to me. I just have to understand that part of creation is actually getting familiar with the creation, because it comes out weird anyway. Because if it's a creation, that means I've never seen it, never experienced it, never felt it, and it's gonna come out feeling weird. It's gonna come out making you feel weird, like, oh my God, I don't like this. Of course you shouldn't like it, because you've never seen it before. Of course you shouldn't even have any connection to it, because you've never seen it before. So accepting that fact is so key to being a creator, because like now you're jumping in, and the feelings that come with not being familiar with your art, you don't treat it as if your art ain't good, or I'm not good enough, or this. You don't even add the thoughts that is not really what really is. So those two things are important. So starting to protect your heart at the beginning, my purpose was based on the fact that protect your heart was these words that I already had, and I needed to figure out how to implement them into the art world. One, that's from the spiritual aspect. Now, from the artist perspective, and studying me and knowing that I wanted to be an artist in the art world, I had to figure out what elements that from my perspective, that these artists had that made them individualists. Okay, so individual artists that have their own style have their own style. They sometimes have their own kind of wording, right? Like a quote of some sort of tagline. They usually have somewhat of a color scheme that is always identifiable to them. They usually have a really very internal story that is very, very connected to their art. So I had all those elements. So now it's about putting them together. And I was like, shit, I want a number too. I always wanted a number. I was like, I want a number, because if I do close one day, I would like that number to represent it. So the numbers came, 423. I didn't pick them, they came. So it was the human in me knowing that these elements was important, and then finding these elements and utilizing them, and then assigning these elements to myself. So protect your heart was the words. And then of course, I'm a wordsmith when it comes to certain words. So it's not just one tag word that's going to be attached to me. It's a ton of them. So that's another thing about myself. What protect your heart came from the spiritual aspect of myself, having these three words that I knew were going to be the bridge between a person's soul and their individual self. And it was placed on the floor to create this aspect of this thing came out of nowhere, and there was no person that was attached to it. Like there was no thing that says, oh, undid this. It was just there. And it was there for the person to interpret it the way they were supposed to based on their personal experience. So that's how that started. And yeah, I kind of told you how I started, but it kind of gave you little nips of where each of these things made sense in my career. So when people are looking at their career and what they already have, but the funny thing is, as an artist, you really have everything you need to create the thing that you see yourself being. It's just you have to kind of like trying to focus on not looking outside of yourself for your version of you, because artists tend to do that, and then they copy and then turn to infringe, because and it's not sometimes their fault. It's like you're so stuck on somebody that you love so much that you tend to start create like them. So sometimes you have to put yourself in a dark abyss and create that stuff that is so uncomfortable to you that you already knew that it's gonna be uncomfortable and new to everybody else. Then you know you got something.
Right. That's really interesting. And I think it's definitely really important to figure out, you as an individual artist and creative, and how you can put something out in the world that also builds community at the same time. I want to quickly, just to give some everyone, the same level of context and everything. I just have like a bit of information about Protect Your Heart to share. So the ubiquitous Protect Your Heart stencil debuted at Art Basel Miami in 2014, but was executed in the early 2000s. It grew organically, capturing the attention of art and heart lovers across the globe. It has resulted in over 30 million likes and accumulated over 1.4 billion impressions on Instagram. So you can really see how far this movement has spread all across the world. And it has even gone to a lot of celebrities, including Madonna, Jennifer Lopez, Miranda Lambert, Paris Hilton, and more, who have all posted about it. And the campaign really has always been and always will be a reminder to people of the importance of self-love and self-appreciation. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. It's really, really incredible. And on that note there on this this movement as a reminder for people of the importance of self-love, I would love to talk about kind of where this conversation was already going. Like, what can artists do to make sure that they are putting themselves first, or how can I think we all kind of lose that sometimes in our day to day, and we focus on other people. And what are some things that we can do to make sure that we are prioritizing ourselves and loving ourselves first?
As you guys know, as artists, we tend to be the givers of a lot of things. We rarely take, because we just want to give. We want to give what's in our heart. We just want to give, 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 give. And it is this aspect of you being a giver is something you can never run from. And that's why Protect Your Heart was so important to me at the beginning, because people was not remembering themselves as much as they was remembering everything else in their life. So that's why I kept saying this is a reminder. This is because this is Protect Your Heart, or just loving yourself is not something that is like new to anybody. But the distraction and the busyness and the running around and the aspect of going through emotional situations with just life in general, it really takes all the focus away from this personal relationship that we should be having with ourselves. That in turn solve the issues that stops us from having this personal relationship. So Protect Your Heart was just like constantly reminding people to take a moment to themselves, for themselves, right? And that was important. And mental health and mental awareness, all those things come down the line, especially with the artist community. Like the entire community, have somewhat been suffering over the last lockdown and so on and so forth, because a lot of artists, were stuck in their crib. A lot of artists didn't have the ability to continue making art and finances the way other artists did. So that's where community became important, because now we have to support each other. So I would say for people, not just artists, this is for everybody, just the ability to which is and it's I'm not saying this is easy, because we know in the midst of doing all sorts of things, it's difficult for me to say, stop doing all this running around and focus on your body, which is important. So at some point we have to start training ourselves to look inwardly before we look outwardly. And it's a training thing, because I think to fix this type of situation with us artists is being under the like understanding that this is a rebranding of your mindset, a rebranding of your heart set, and being very deliberately attentive to that. And knowing that, you can't be hard on yourself, because you're gonna fall a couple of times, you're gonna stumble. You just have to be able to jump back up. So I just recommend we put our mindset into this. I'm ready to go into a space where I'm going to be focused on aligning myself with myself and training my body to start moving the way it's supposed to be moving. Because now, once you put yourself in that mindset, then the training starts, then the lesson starts, then the people that needs to help you with figuring out these tools or these different tricks starts coming into your life. But first, you have to commit to yourself that we need to work on aligning ourselves and being better. That would be the first thing I would say, because it's hard for me to tell you, go do this, go do that, and you haven't committed to doing it in the first place. So therefore, it's not going to stick. This is going to be a 2-day thing, and then you're going to want to hear me say it again. And then next week, you're going to want to hear me say it again. But for it to really be an internal thing, you have to sit with yourself and realize that we need to make some beautiful changes. And these beautiful changes are going to start with A, B, C. And then this A, B, C is going to start coming into your life. And that's one thing I think that's neutrally what I would recommend.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Like it's definitely a commitment that you have to make and like really focus in and make a commitment to prioritize those things. I'm seeing some really awesome comments in the chat here. I want to make sure that we get some questions in here as well. I have a couple more, but I'm seeing Sandra has a question in the chat. How does one stay humble as you grow or learn the business aspect of the art world? If you have any thoughts on that.
It's all about focus, and if because there's so much going on, and the humble aspect have a lot to do with you interacting with different entities and different people. But when you know you have your focus and your goal and your drive, and you have to just do it no matter what, it humbles you, because it'll pick you up at times and it'll drop you at other times. The same thing that you're loving is the same thing that's gonna humble you at times. So it will humble the shit out of you at times. So when you focus on your drive and what needs to happen in every little element, it kind of distracts you from even wanting to compete or even wanting to show people that you're doing better or you're doing good, or even caring what people think or how they think you're doing, or anything of that nature. So distractions is important away from the outside work. That's where the competitive, that's where the non-humble is, that's where all the they don't understand me. And sometimes I get into that space and I have to pull myself out. But it definitely is focusing on your project and what your project needs. And usually it's you. It needs you. It needs your attention. It needs your love. It needs your embracement. It needs your gratitude. It needs you. And what do you need? You need you. So you need to love on yourself. You need to appreciate yourself. You need to appreciate the moment. So you see how that kind of trickles right back down to what we started as self-love. So yeah, that would be my answer for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to pull our screen back up real quick for a second because uh, um, there's one question I have right up here. And I want to make sure I put that in there. Sorry, bear with me one moment. There we go. So,
So artwork.
Uncutt. Oh, sorry. What was that?
The artwork question.
I'm sorry. I missed that one more time.
No, you had actually the first question. What does art words mean? And I didn't really get to answer that.
Right. Absolutely. Let's do that one next.
You know, it's weird. Like when I first did Protect Your Heart, it wasn't considered art to me, right? It was just something that I know needed to go out there. I had art in the streets that I know was my art, but this right here is just, to me, was just words or the reminder or the energy vortex that was being created on the ground. So now when people started calling art, oh, that's art, I'm like, well, that's not my art. Those just words. And then of course, I could have said it's my artwork, but then, one day I was going to say artwork. I'm like, no, those are my art words. And then it just stuck. So then it stuck too, because now everything that's in the streets that are words, right, that are artistic words or just words that people write, graffiti. And, people can call it graffiti or you can call it art words. So yeah, I'm gonna point that it's art words. That's my word. Say that was that.
I love that so much. I think that's so interesting. Another question here are just what are some self-love practices that you do on a daily or a weekly basis? Like what is something that helps you personally to stay focused in on yourself?
I'm glad you asked me that question because something happened today that just made me realize something. So I usually fall asleep around 5, 6 in the AM, and sometimes I have to really just put myself to sleep. Usually I meditate, and every night before I go to sleep, I'll lay on my back and literally just remind myself that I had a dope ass day. First I start with the deep breath and I just like, damn, thank you, breath. You're like, this was so awesome. And I'm talking about this is after going through a whole bunch of shit, probably crying, going crazy. And it's just looking back at the day, like today was so awesome. We learned so much, we went through so much, and literally taking myself out of this whatever I was experiencing for that day that must have made me feel some type of way, taking myself out of that and being that spirit of understanding today was an awesome day because we learned so much, we experienced so much, and we can't wait for tomorrow. So that's the way I close my night. And then when I wake up, like usually back in, I would say like 10 years ago, we all were the same way. We all was more attentive to our phones at the time, and we wake up and the people outside of our, dream state that we was of our bodies. So a long time ago, probably like 10 years ago, I used to wake up and just grab my phone. What time is it? What do I have to be in? What text did I miss? And what's going on? And then I go into, probably eat breakfast and then run out and start doing all the stuff. Now my new practice is wake up and not even look for the phone. I look for my breath, right? I look for my breath because I know that finding, or even I call it, is a game that I play with myself. So I'll find your breath. And that slows me down. It slows me down from even wanting to get out of bed. Because in order for me to find my breath, I have to silence, I have to calm, and I have to breathe. I have to, get into the space where now I'm in my body and I'm feeling my body's dope. And I'm like, okay, thank you, cells, and thank you, organ. So it's like starting my day with my body in a very peaceful state. And I found myself ending my night on a peaceful state. And it's just based on just taking a deep breath. And both of those started with the breath. The breath is who we are. We are the breath into the body. And the thought that came last night was, oh shit, I remember my mom used to tell me, pray before you go to sleep and pray when you wake up. So this is the praying, right? So like I used to be taught to pray outside of myself, pray to something outside when you first wake up. And then I just realized that last night that this meditation factor, this whole thanking my breath and thanking my organ and thanking myself for experiencing such a dope day was a form of prayer. It was a form of internal prayer, which kept my energy internally to myself. So that was the thing. But definitely the find your breath in the first AM is a very good way to start slowing down the mind from chasing you out the bed, and it allows you to have a peaceful moment with yourself, thanking your pillows, thanking your bed, thanking your sheets, because those things are energies that surrounded you the night before, thinking your lungs because they kept you breathing all night, thinking your heart because it was pumping and they didn't even ask for your permission to allow these bloods to get. So it's like really that breath gives you that moment to realize that all that shit outside of me is really not as important as thinking the thing inside of me that keeps me alive every day. And I think that is a super dope practice that is should be shared every day because it's important to align yourself before you get out of bed with yourself. And then drink a lot of water. I drink a lot of water until like 12 o'clock before I even eat. I don't eat until like after 12, just to be able to flush my body, just be able to just, take some of the toxins that was there the night before out my body before I start putting in new stuff. So yeah, that's my daily, always, every day, has to happen every day. And there's a lot of little things too, lime shot, the ginger things, all those little things. But those things you get it once you are committed to knowing that you want to make a change in your AM routine, then you'll start finding what these AM routines can be like. How many different AM routines is out there? How many different ways you can flip this on its head for you to really, really enjoy your beautiful day? And yeah, that helps out so much.
That's awesome. I'm really appreciative of everything you're sharing. I think that's something I definitely need to do and want to make the commitment to is really focusing in on my breath, especially, to start my day and everything like that. I want to also hear just from our whole audience here, because I'm sure everyone has been, I think especially with so much going on in the world right now, a lot of us have adopted new self-care and self-love practices. So if you want to unmute your mic and share something that you do personally that helps you start your day or end your day in a calm and peaceful place, we'd love to hear that. Feel free to just unmute yourself, or if you want to put it in the chat as well, feel free.
Hello, my name is Donna, and I'm unmuting myself. And now I work at a hospital in the daytime, so I usually start out early in the morning, about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I start my day by having a small cup of coffee and a little bit of time to myself before I go to the hospital. And then what I do is I make sure that I schedule my time to be in my studio or schedule my art. And that's my way of unwinding and putting myself back into my art as a ceramist. And I also write too. And that's what I do.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Donna. I know one of my best friends, one thing that they do all the time is they started like 2 years ago writing a short poem every morning, just in reflection on, what they're thinking of. And I think that's a really, really cool practice that I definitely want to get into as well. Anyone else want to share anything that they do? I'm seeing, Sandra, your comment in the chat about paying attention to your breath, keeping you in the now and instilling your thoughts. Yes, definitely. I think that's really important. Let's see.
I would like to share.
Awesome, please do.
I'm actually going through chemotherapy for stage 4 colon cancer. So every morning when I get up, I always meditate and try to do my yoga to help as far as with, the healing and everything. So that's what I usually do. And I mean, I'm always staying positive anyway, but that does help when you wake up, prayer and meditation and yoga.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Nicole.
I definitely love to move my body very early while I like the first probably 10 minutes out of bed. I like spend the first 10 minutes in the bed just going through my gratitude list and my just trying to, this is my meditation. I have a series of sort of questions that I ask myself about what I want to do that day and try to visualize myself in health, visualize my day going well, visualize myself flowing peacefully through the day. I definitely spend the first like 10 minutes when my mind is very fresh and ripe from waking up, just trying to put myself through what I have to do and ground myself as well. And then getting up, I keep some water beside my bed. So before I get out of bed, I try to finish some water. And then I get on the treadmill for like 10 minutes, another 10 minutes. So I don't look at my screens or my text messages or any of that stuff. I just get on and start moving because I know I'm still, somewhat semi lucid anyway. So it's a good time I'm trying to increase my steps every day. So that's a good way to just get like a bunch of steps moving and just wake myself up gently, not strenuously, make my coffee, and then go about my day. That's it.
Awesome. One more thing that just came to my mind. I made, when I was in college, I made a rule for myself because I realized one thing that I was doing that was negatively impacting like my mental health is like I was always, whenever I was eating, enjoying a meal, I was also working at the same time. So I made myself a little rule that if I'm going to sit down and eat, I'm going to prepare a meal for myself and I'm just going to sit there. I'm not going to do anything else and just enjoy my food. And that was something that really made such a huge difference for such a small change rather than like, you know, being typing away or like working on an essay or something like that. And so I think for me, like food and cooking is definitely something that I use as something to practice self-love for myself. Anyone have any final thoughts for on or not final thoughts, but things that they do, any self-love practices that you do, whether you're just starting or not, that you want to share before we move to the next question? All right, so I'm going to move on to our next one here. So I'm going to pop this back up on the screen. So one thing, we had a little conversation a couple days ago, and one thing that really struck me, Uncutt said, everything that's good for your spirit is good for your business. Not everything that's good for your business is good for your spirit. So Uncutt, if you want to just share a little bit more about what that means, I think that would be really interesting for our audience here.
I like to say that you are good, first of all. I like to say that I think you're an awesome host and an awesome listener and an awesome questioner. And you are awesome around. Like, first of all, just to have to let you know that first and foremost, because I speak to a lot of people and I speak into a lot of forums, and I'm always dropping nuggets and things that I don't get to revisit because normally they're usually things that are impromptu to the conversation and things. So even when I was trying to remember this quote, remember I had a hard time putting it together because I've never seen it on paper, right? I said it a couple of times in context, but I've never seen it to even make it a quote yet. So it's just, I appreciate you even putting it in my face because it is what it says exactly. Because like before it was a quote, it was life, right? So every time I think about the quote and how the words fall together, I think about what life is, and that is life. And this is exactly what it says. Like your spirit self, your energy self, you, that inner self knows what is good for everything in the entire universe. Your brain self might just know a limited amount of things that your stuff might be good for because you do not know the entire universe. But your non-physical self does. So you can always trust your spiritual intuition. So business, on the other hand, is a man-made construct that is not always geared towards humanity or health or goodness or anything but money or in business. And it has its own little situation going on over there. And as we interact with that situation from a spiritual perspective, it's very important to keep this balance and keep our integrity as universal spiritual beings and not allow the business to infiltrate or even dictate how we move for nature. So that quote says it. And again, everything that I'm sharing with you guys is things that are national reminders that help create these different elements in people. It makes you think differently. It opens you up to these different thought processes that you wasn't on. So if you really think about it, yes, not everything that's good for your spiritual essence is going to be good. I can't even say it because I don't know what the quote is. Not everything that's good for your spirit is good for your business. Is that what it is? No.
Yeah,
It is.
all right. Yeah, that not everything
Yeah,
that's
that's
good
what I'm
for your
saying, like,
business. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because it's such a, and that's the same thing I was explaining about creating things. It's gonna feel strange and uncomfortable when you first did it, but you really know it. It just seems right. There's something so right about this. I just can't figure it out, kind of thing, you know. But yes, so it's really what it is. It's like whatever we do for our business is gonna always be good for business because we're doing business. But it will definitely sometimes hurt the environment. It might hurt other people. It might even hurt yourself internally. So sometimes we have to pick and choose. Like, oh my God, am I going to do this or not? So the other version of even not even having to go through that process is always do things for your spiritual essence. Always do things for nature, because you can always guarantee that when you do it for spirit, when you do it for nature, it's gonna work for business, because business is what we're creating. So whatever we want business to work and how we want it to work is going to work. So it kind of changes the perspective of how we think, because some people think that they have to do things a certain way because business is stating it, and no matter what harm it brings to families and nature, we like, we have to do it. But sometimes we gotta hold our ground and say, nah, it doesn't really mean just because it's good for business, I'm gonna have to do it. It's really have to be the other way around. So it's really about like really being accountable, right? And really holding our shit down. Because as creators, people use our creative sense and our minds and our thoughts and all our elements, and they can give us money in return. And sometimes the money is nowhere near as important as the factor that you're bringing to the table. So sometimes we have to pretty much understand that what we're doing internally, what we're doing as artists, has way more value than what somebody could tell you that money value they could put on your art or who you are as a person. So that's that.
Thank you. I know when you said that the other day, that really shifted my whole perspective on, everything that I've been doing. And I'm imagining similar things going on for other folks on this call as well. I want to give the opportunity, if anyone has any questions or comments about this as well, please feel free to unmute yourself and share. All right. Well, yeah, I know it took me a moment to kind of like sit and reflect on that. So we can talk about that further. If you have any thoughts, feel free to put those in the chat. And so
Sorry, before you go, I was just waiting to see if anyone did have a comment. But I guess I want to ask about just a little bit more continuation of this comment, because it's like a lot of artists want to grow in many of the ways that you've grown over the last several years. So it's kind of like you have a lot of wisdom around that to share, and balancing, pretty much creating a brand as well as and a philosophy and a community that is unified. A lot, maybe for people who don't know that, like the protect your heart aspect of walking around any major city in the country and just seeing it on the ground, like that's how he would deploy this idea in a very massive way. So you would walk around in any area in New York City or Philadelphia or even DC or Los Angeles or Miami or many other areas and cities, and just walk, be having any kind of day, and you look down on your feet and see it, and it'd be, as he said, a way to take a stop. You can't not put yourself through that question in the moment. Like, what does that mean? And should I be doing that? I probably should. What is it like, just engaging with it, like the simplicity of engaging with it, So that's part of one of the main reasons that it did take off and become such a viral success, as far as seeing people from all over the world coming across it, photographing it, and putting it on social media. So with that kind of success, I'm sure a lot of challenges kind of come with that, dealing with that. And so I wouldn't be, I'd be have to definitely, from TFA standpoint, what we like to talk about is that intersection of sustainability as an artist, sustainability economically and mentally, and the circles that you find yourself in, as well, to try to keep yourself growing and keep yourself positive. So I would love if you could talk about that part of your journey and some things that you would like give as lessons or learn, maybe your most important lesson as you built your community.
One of the biggest things that I always have to tell myself, Kiki, is go back to one. And I learned that back to one stuff working in the film business. And on set, when you're working in a movie set, when somebody say go back to one, that means go back to your starting point. Go back to wherever you was at when we started this set, this scene, go back there. And then we're gonna start from that point. So that go back to one shit always works out for me, because we forget where we start from, yo. We forget, because as we go on this journey, we meet people, we run into things, we learn new things. And sometimes we forget why we even started doing this in the first place. Like, we forget in a heartbeat, and it is not our fault. It's because that's part of the journey. It's part of growth. Because as you grow, you add on to what you already knew, so it becomes something else. So as this thing is morphing into something else, you always got to keep that one state in mind, that why did I start this in the first place? Why did I even want to do this? Because you're gonna start it for one reason and end up doing it for another, or end up keeping it for another, or end up losing it for another, if you don't keep that one reason going. And that would be one of the main thing for me that grounds me all the time, because when I start feeling like I'm getting too ahead of myself, I go back to one. I go back to where I was able to breathe, where I was able to think for myself, where I was able to love what I was doing, what I was about to embark on, where I was able to just be in the space where I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to implement all these new things, because, things morph and people come in and kind of like start adding salt into your shit when you didn't even ask for salt. Like, well, I like my food a little salty. No, like, it wasn't made to be salty. Like, take your little portion, go in the other side of the planet and put salt on it there. Don't come trying to add salt in the whole thing. But as we move forward, like I said, people just start coming to your kitchen and want to add sauce into the sauce that's been made. So I always found myself having to go back to one. So and in every aspect of life, going back to one is important, because that's where the passion is. That's where the hunger is. That's where that I don't give a goddamn, I'm going to make this shit happen is. Because after you start getting money, people start helping you, start getting comfortable, you forget that you forget that one. So that's part of my humbling thing too. Always never forget my one. Like, why I even started this. Like, why did I even start it? Because I wanted to help people. Okay, so right now, people don't need no help, but still, it doesn't really matter. It still was the reason why I started. So I'm going to keep going in that factor. I'm not going to change because the world is changing, and I can't go into that factor, but I'm not going to change because everything outside of me is changing. I got to keep this going, because my purpose in this is why I am doing this. So yeah, I think that's one thing.
That's really, really great advice, and I really enjoy what you're sharing there. Before we wrap up the call as well, just kind of fitting in perfectly to the themes of your spirit and your mindset and everything, and also your business, and going from taking it from one and moving forward. I want to give a chance to talk about some stuff that you have coming up. So I'm going to put up on the screen the Protect Your Heart Festival, which is in April of this year. So if you'd like to share a little bit about that and what you have planned, I also have the schedule up here. If you want to just talk about the inspiration and where that's been going.
Oh, well, this has been my little project, man, forever and every year. We were just talking about how I put myself through the headache and the semi-stress. I mean, I don't claim the stress ever, but when I be screaming on people, they be like, "Yo, are you stressed?" I'm like, "No, I'm just frustrated." So the goal is to always put together this beautiful event every year. And this year it's 420 to 424. And to me, that is like it is going to be, and it is already, but it's going to be recognized as the most soulful weekend ever, right? Because these 4 days is encompassing so much dopeness, from 420 being about cannabis and psychedelic and being in a different mindset, to 421, which was a nothing day. We were going to make National Youth and Family Day, and then we have 422, which is National Earth Day. So it falls right into line with honoring the earth and honoring everything around that factor. And then we made 423 Protect Your Heart Day. Mind you, this is not all stuff that was planned. It was just came aligned the way it came aligned. So we just taking it and moving with it the way Spirit gave it to us. So 423 is our National Protect Your Heart Day. And the goal, like I said, to that day is to make it a national holiday. To give you guys a good aspect of why national holidays, like if you think about it, from the time we was born, we don't have any holiday that was created in our era that got anything to do with us. Every holiday was created before us, ain't got nothing to do with us. So we wanted to create a holiday that 50, 100 years from now, when the children are looking back at the people from this era, from this century, they could say, yo, these people left us a holiday. They left us something that would always remind us of ourselves. And that is literally one of the visions that I had, the simplicity of this holiday. And the day is the day of self-love, self-appreciation and self-love. Self-appreciation, self-love, meaning the inner self, and appreciating that journey, appreciating yourself. So those 4 days are our day. And of course, 24 is the closing day. And we're putting everything together right now, getting sponsors together, aligning these events, and really going down to the microscopic aspect of how these days are going to be. And it's all going to be geared around loving yourself, appreciating yourself, just really just doing everything for yourself, and these are the moments where being angry and being anxious and being fearful is not good for yourself. So we want to be in joy. We want to be in gratitude. We want to be accepting and receiving to all the beauty that these events and these things are going to present to us during these 4 days, and teach people how to just be open and just release and stop holding on to things as if things don't move forward. You got to breathe and just release. So those days are going to be for that. And we do this every year, mind you. So Miami is going to be our main city this year. And we usually have about anywhere from about 8 to 16 different cities that participate every year. They'll pick one of these days out of those 4 days and they'll participate. They'll create their own event around it and they'll chime in with us, and we'll do the 4 day in these major cities. So we're doing LA, New York, Miami might be our 3 top cities, but Miami is where we're going to be this year. So hopefully you guys can make it down there.
I am so excited about this, all of these days. I think it's going to be so incredible and so helpful to so many people. I want to say as well, if you want to share like how people can support you in this project or anything like that. I also, with TFA, if anyone here in the audience wants more info, we can share that with you. Just send us a note, or even if you want to like volunteer and help us out, help out with this project, definitely let us know if you have interest in that as well. But basically, how can people support and how can people help make this an amazing event?
Well, for one, as the setup happens right now, we are definitely looking for collaborators, different vendors, different people to assist with the promotion and online marketing, just the staff itself, the stuff that I reached out to you and Kiki for, and then of course just pretty much sharing the spreading the word, spreading this whole factor of loving yourself more than anything. And And yeah, and just getting ready to celebrate with us on that day, wherever you are. It doesn't really matter. It's like celebrating Christmas or Easter or any other holiday that they gave to us. Wherever you are, you'll be celebrating with us. So that's one factor. And keeping up with the website and what we're doing, because you'll know where you can fit into this factor when the time comes. So that would be that. And donations help. Donations help a lot. This is part of the sponsorship thing. And the part of the donation we're working on the website is not really going to be a donation. It's going to be more like go purchase one of the merch, and the funding from whatever you purchase is going to go towards the event. And that's usually what I do around this time is I just start doing merch, just put my paintings at a little lower price, just to just ensure that I can afford putting together a dope event. I just sell mad art. So and make it easy for people to buy them too. It's like this art that they used to want to get that was 3,000. I'm like, yup, you got 2 weeks to get it 1,000, because after that it's going back up. So that kind of sometime. I mean, I can't wait to get into that little campaign right now. I haven't started yet, but yeah, those things help. And sharing the post helps. Sharing on the social medias help a lot as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So everyone, please do, share things. Sandra, thanks for your question in the chat. I will copy a link into the for the website into the chat in just a moment. I just need to pull off screen sharing for a moment, and definitely, we'd love to work with all of you and help make this happen. So if you're interested in volunteering, we'll definitely reach out and we can coordinate. But that would be awesome. Let me see here real fast. I'm gonna just run through some quick announcements really quickly. I know we saw these at the beginning, and then I promise I'll get that website to you all in the chat, and I'll also send it out in a little recap email. Huge thank you to Uncutt. Thank you so much for being here. I know I was writing, I don't know if you see, but copious notes and all these different things that you were saying that I think are just really helpful to frame your mindset as a creative person. So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Just to do a really quick wrap up, again, here are all of our links to find merch, upcoming events. Make sure I have your email so I can send you our free gift and inspiration. And also, if you are willing and able to send us a donation to support specifically our Young Curators program, we have a link on the screen there as well. And I quickly want to just shout out a really exciting event we have coming up. After last month, we had a whole talk on NFTs, and there were so many wonderful questions that we really saw this as a need to keep moving this forward. And so we've decided every month, one of our artist circle is going to be dedicated all to technology or something related to innovation in the art space. So coming up next Sunday, exactly a week from today, we'll be having a part 2 conversation all about NFTs. You can RSVP at tinyurl.com/allaboutNFTs. It's featuring, we're going to have kind of a frequently asked questions presentation from an amazing person named Lance Duncan, who has really got very interested and involved in the NFT and cryptocurrency space really early on. He has a ton of great insight, and also a talk from technologist and social entrepreneur David Benjamin. And we'll have a bunch more speakers and folks that are joining us to be announced this week. So make sure to stay tuned on Instagram and our social media overall as well. And we hope to see you there. So with that, let me see here. I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you all again for coming. And again, really huge thank you to for being here and speaking with us today. I know I took so much away from that, and I'm sure everyone in our audience did as well. So big round of applause, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. And let's hopefully I'll see you guys in Miami, and even if not physically in Miami, we're gonna have the virtual thing worked out. So hopefully we can see you guys in our virtual space, work around with your virtual bodies and stuff. So we're learning a lot about that. But thank you again for having me, and I hope you guys have a beautiful, awesome day. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Ann. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Gratitude.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Donna. Thanks for coming.
Yep.